usually film my intros in here, but I want to be able to film them in here. I asked what do you think I should do with this wall that I'm planning to use as a backdrop for videos sometimes. Should I paint a mural on it or do a new wallpaper and a gallery wall? And you chose the gallery wall. So I'm removing the old wallpaper first. I cleared out my desk and moved it out of the way. And I'm protecting the floor with cardboard and keeping it in place with masking tape. The issue with the old wallpaper was that during a renovation a few years ago, all the furniture had to be sealed off inside plastic to protect it from the renovation dust. And the tape I used I thought was not supposed to damage the wall and the floor, but the renovation ended up lasting like 6 months, and in the end the tape did tear the wallpaper and the painted walls, and the adhesive did not come out of the laminate floors. So I have to get rid of this old wallpaper. I was trying to wet the wallpaper to make it come off more easily, but it was still very slow. What's underneath is partly a painted yellow wall, partly caulk that's been used to even out the wall, I guess, and partly this yellowish remainder of the wallpaper, because it's refusing to come out in one piece. So I figured since I'm just putting a new wallpaper on top anyway, I might as well just take out any uneven parts of the wallpaper and call it a day and glue the new wallpaper on top. I'm also taking out any screws and filling the holes. Although I'd kinda like to keep them for hanging something heavier, because I'm only planning to use plastic picture hangers otherwise, since you can't use regular nails on a concrete wall. But if I kept the screws, then I'd have to work the whole gallery wall around this one screw, and I don't want to, so I took it out. I found this discounted grey leaf and flower pattern wallpaper. It's unfortunately not going to be enough for this wall, so I got this other wallpaper that's also grey and discounted to do the missing sliver of wall with. I also started working on the wall art. I've never tried macrame, but I had these sticks lying around waiting for when I would do it, so I started with a leftover yarn I had and a tutorial on YouTube. And then I bought some more yarn and made this macrame wall hanging. I also had this metal ring I once found and wanted to use for making a dream catcher, which is also a suggestion I got from one of you. I also made this macrame necklace. Since I use this room for filming and the concrete wall building is very echoey and noisy, I want to do something sound dampening or echo preventing for this wall. I figured early on that soundproofing the whole room with wood paneling or something would be too expensive, and acoustic foam, even though it's cheaper, is not really the aesthetic I want as the background of my videos or on my walls in general. So I'm instead using my own art and crafts, but soft materials. Canvas paintings, macrame, maybe cardboard recycling or handmade paper, wood, and also fake fabric flowers, that kind of thing. So I have real plants in the background where I usually film my intros. But this wall doesn't get much natural light, so I don't think real plants would do that well here. My mom found this big frame by the waste drop-off, and I even like the print in the frame, so I wiped it clean and figured I'd hang it as it is. So I'm doing a side quest of doing a gallery wall in another room or a couple of rooms while waiting for the caulk to dry. I don't need soundproofing here because this isn't where I film usually, so I'm thinking to use only or mostly glass and plexiglass or plastic picture frames here and not exposed canvas paintings. So mainly watercolor paintings, and I have a series of parrot watercolor paintings which don't match the style or colors of the print, but they do kind of match the colors of this room, so I figured I'd use them anyway. I googled how much weight a plastic wall nail hook can carry, and the little nails cannot carry more than a few kilograms. and I figured the big frame weighs at least 5 kilograms, so I hung it in one of these screws I already had on my walls instead, at least for now. And I only did the watercolor paintings on the kitchen wall. Most of the frames are from the reuse center, but the one with the alpaca print is new and I actually like the print, so I'm keeping it in the frame for now. On the light blue wall, I've been planning to do a pink, blue and purple color scheme gallery wall. And I thought I might as well start putting it together now, even though I think I still want to do more paintings for it, but I'm thinking I'll just build it outwards as I finish more paintings. This is a room where I do film many of my intros and outros, so I'd like to put canvas paintings here and some macrame or other soft or uneven surfaces to help reduce echo. I added nails and a string or a wire behind the canvases to hang them from the plastic wall hangers. One of these paintings isn't actually even finished. It's one I started years ago and never got around to finishing, but it fits the color scheme, so I'm using it anyway. My mom came to help me with installing the wallpaper, and then she had to leave in the middle of the socket part, and I started filming from then on out. I've never installed wallpaper before, and I definitely did some things wrong. Like now I know you're supposed to turn the power off and screw the socket out before attaching the wallpaper. I've never done that for painting either though. I calculated beforehand that the wallpaper should be enough for 4 strips from ceiling to floor, and then I'd need the other wallpaper to finish the 5th one. But I did not account for the pattern matching. And then I ran out of wallpaper during the 4th strip and I got this rectangle of missing wallpaper. I had the 3 pieces of 20 centimeters of excess wallpaper from the pattern matching, and they were enough to fill that 40 centimeter gap, but I could not pattern match with those pieces. Or I could only pattern match the first piece but not the other 2. But I used them anyway. It's low and in the corner, so it's not even that visible. And actually I used scissors to cut them and the edges aren't exactly straight, so there's some of the old wallpaper showing in the seams, and that's the visible part, not the mismatched pattern. So I think I can just paint those little slivers gray and it should be okay. For the missing part from ceiling to floor in the corner, I cut the other wallpaper into a long enough piece and then cut it down the middle according to the darker gray stripe so that it hangs over to the other wall a little bit, and then glued it down. It does bubble up a bit on the other wall, so I think I made the overhang too wide. The light gray stripe in the corner somehow makes the wall look like a notebook cover to me. That's the bookbinding part, and then the patterned wallpaper is the cover of the notebook. The wall isn't straight, so we drew a straight line with the spirit level and let the first wallpaper piece overhang, and I tried cutting the overhang with scissors and a carpet knife afterwards, and it did not turn out looking pretty. The next day I cleaned up and perfect. Just as I feared, some of the paint came off from the skirting boards. I was thinking of this red rack rug in front of the wall because it's one of the biggest ones I have, but I'm not sure I want to use it. The chair doesn't move well on it, so I ended up rearranging my rugs and I put this sturdier Aztec patterned rug here instead. It is a lot of pattern on pattern, but this one was big enough and it's not going to scrunch up when I move the chair. And the skirting boards, I'll paint them another time. I have some other bad ones with chipped paint in other rooms, so I'll need to fix those at the same time. While the wallpaper was drying, I worked on more wall art pieces. I bought a white yarn for more macrame. I did a square one with mostly just half knots, very simple. And then I thought the metal ring was too big, so I used this willow wreath I made for the dream catcher. I list below where I found the instructions. I also took screenshots of some nice comments from my channel, and put them in a document and printed it and cut out the comments and pinned them on this corkboard for some motivation and encouragement when I need it. And I can fill it out over time, screenshot and print another batch of comments, maybe on different colored paper to make this board a bit more colorful. I got this broken frame or broken painting some years ago because it was gonna go into trash. Don't ask me what happened to it or why it looks like this, but it was the same size as a few of my paintings and I decided to use it to frame the Sugar Skull Girl painting. So I took out the broken canvas and pulled out some of the nails and nailed the frame back together and put my canvas board in. I had some other DIY wall art and crafts in mind, but I think this is enough for this wall, maybe even too much. I figured the grey macrame wasn't showing up on the grey wall at all, and I used the white ones instead. But the white dream catcher isn't really showing up much either, so I might switch it out for something more colorful eventually. I think my neighbors hate me for all this hammering. I'm not completely happy with this, but it was my first time choosing and applying wallpaper, and the wallpaper is definitely busier than I thought, bigger contrast than I wanted. I'm not redoing this wall, but if I was, I'd either get a very light colored wallpaper or a darker one. One where the background color and the pattern are nearly the same darkness value, so it's a more neutral background for wall art. This wallpaper is nice for an accent wall, but not for a gallery wall like this. Really dark, contrasted artwork works though. The Sugar Skull Girl is a good example. That one stands out enough. Also, a solid white border or frame would probably work too. Once I redo the other walls, I definitely do a wallpaper with lower contrast or a sparse pattern to make them look calmer. And I will say that this space got darker with this wallpaper, so I definitely want a lighter color wallpaper for the other two walls. The parrot paintings kept falling off, so I don't recommend this duct tape and string thing. I'll have to figure out something else for them. This video was mostly about the wall in my art room, but if you want to know how I store my art supplies when they're not on the desk, then watch this video here. See you there!